No one knows exactly where coffee first started, but legend says it started out on the Ethiopian plateau. A goat herder named Kaldi first came across the ancient coffee forests. He decided to feed his goat the coffee. Soon after, he noticed his goats became energetic and couldn't sleep at night. Kaldi showed the coffee to an abbot of the local monastery who made a drink out of it. The abbot stayed up all night praying without falling asleep, so he started sharing it with the other monks. Soon, word started to spread to the Arabian Peninsula. By the 15th century, coffee was being grown in Yemen. By the 16th century, it was well known in Persia, Egypt, Syria, and Turkey. People simply loved drinking it at home. But soon, places called coffee houses started showing up. They were kind of like a modern-day Starbucks where you go to drink coffee, but also engage in conversation, trade news, and even watch performers. In fact, so much knowledge was being exchanged that these coffee houses were called schools of the wise. Then, the 17th century came along, and soon coffee reached Europe. At first, people were afraid of it, calling it the bitter invention of Satan. Even the local clergy of Venice condemned it in 1615. So they decided to go to Pope Clement VIII with the coffee. He tasted it, and guess what? He loved it so much he gave it papal approval. With this blessing, coffee started to spread all over England, Austria, France, Germany, and Holland. In England, penny universities started popping up where you could sit down, drink a cup of coffee, and trade info for just a penny. Coffee replaced wine and beer, which were the main breakfast drinks at the time. More than 300 coffee houses opened in London alone by the mid-17th century. Soon, around the mid-1600s, the British took coffee to New Amsterdam, later called New York. The Americans didn't like it at first. Then, around 1773, the Boston Tea Party took place because of the high taxes on tea. Soon, Americans started preferring coffee. Or, as Thomas Jefferson said then, the favorite drink of the civilized world. Next come the Dutch. The 17th century was almost at its end when they got a hold of some seedlings and tried to grow them. First, they tried in India but failed. Then, they succeeded in Batavia on the island of Java, which is now known as Indonesia. In 1714, the mayor of Amsterdam decides to go to King Louis XIV. He gives him a coffee plant which the king orders to be planted in the Royal Botanical Gardens in Paris. 9 years pass, and in 1723, a young Navy officer named Gabriel de Cleo steals a seedling from the king's plant and sets on a voyage to Martinique Island. He sails through harsh weather, gets attacked by pirates. There's even a saboteur who tried to destroy the seedling. In the end, Gabriel got there safely and planted the seedling. Over the 50 years that followed, more than 18 million coffee trees grew on the island thanks to Gabriel's seedling. In fact, this seedling was the parent of all coffee trees in the Caribbean and both South and Central America. What about the famous Brazilian coffee? That has a special story. It's all thanks to Francisco de Melo Palheta. The emperor asked him to go to French Guiana to get some seedlings. He travels all the way there, but the French say no. Fortunately, Francisco was very handsome. The French governor's wife was captivated by him, so she gave him a large bouquet of flowers and hid it inside were the coffee seedlings. So it's all thanks to Francisco and his good looks that we have Brazilian coffee today. Soon, travelers and traders carried the seeds all over the world. By the end of the 18th century, coffee was one of the most important commodities in the world, almost as important as crude oil. Today, we can't live without coffee, and we wouldn't have the coffee we love so much if it weren't for Kaldi and his energetic goats.